Hey fiber friends, welcome to the Botanical Knitter Vlogcast. I'm Emily, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this is my vlog space where I talk about making and the joy of wool. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky as The Botanical Knitter and on Ravelry as Botanical Knitter. Today's episode is all about my time at Darn It Anyways sweater camp. So I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna drop in some footage so you can kind of come with me to the 3 days of sweater camp, and then I'll come back. I'll do a little bit of knitting chatter. You can see what I was working on at sweater camp. These are 2 new projects that you haven't seen yet on YouTube. And then I'll also talk about kind of some of my takeaways and some of the high points of sweater camp because there were no lows. See you in a bit. Hey everybody, it is Thursday, January 30th. It is just before 6 o'clock. And tomorrow is sweater camp. So Darn It Anyway is a yarn shop in Stillwater, and they host a sweater camp every year. This is my first time going, so I'm gonna bring you along with me. Unlike the Up North Fiber Festival or Fiber Retreat, I'm gonna try and do a better job of packing and preparing. That being said, I'm a little all over the place. I just got off the phone with Susie of Fiber MacGyver. I'm gonna stay in Madge with her this weekend, and I left her a very frantic voicemail, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm okay. Session is crazy. I'm in my legislative mode and going a little bonkers. However, I'm gonna try and be a good participant, and I'm gonna make some cookies. So I think I have one work call tonight from 7 to 8. But I'm gonna try and get the dough done before the work call and then bake them after the work call. I need to be in Stillwater, which is about 40 minutes away, by 9 a.m. tomorrow. And so I'll bake cookies and then I'll pack. So I'm gonna bring you along with me. I'm going to do Marlene's sourdough discard chocolate chip cookie recipe. I might be dumb by trying to do a sugar or a chocolate chip cookie dough recipe that I've never done before on a deadline. But you know what? Let's live on the edge. So let's make some cookies. I finished the cookies. It's 9:20, not too bad. They're a sweet cookie. The recipe it's in Marlene's Instagram post. So I'll link to the post, you can see it in the comments. Calls for brown sugar, white sugar, and maple syrup. And I think I would not do the maple syrup next time because for me, it's a little too sweet. But they're beautiful cookies. They look absolutely lovely. Let me show you. Ice.
Our campers are from 18 different states.
Wow.
30 campers were given full scholarships to be here this year.
This is a nice bag.
It is. This is
a really nice bag.
Yes.
And it's green.
Yes. I was about to say to you, and it's green.
We are so excited to have you kick off camp this year.
If you find a way to, yes, be sad, be mad, be angry, be frustrated, be scared, but then also identify little pockets of joy. And that's what knitting was for me.
I had to take about an hour to step away from sweater camp and do one last conference call and a little bit of emails before closing my laptop for the day. And I took some footage just because I really love this sweater and thought the outfit was really cute. Day one of sweater camp is over. I really liked it. Good speakers. I'll talk more about it in my recap video. I'm a little out of breath because I had to walk up the hill, but we're a match. So we're getting ready. We're gonna meet some folks for dinner and then come back for more knitting, of course. Susie's working on this gorgeous colorwork vest that is far too big for her. So we tried to see if it would work as a skirt. And then of course we got a little goofy because that's what we do. It's a vlog. Good morning. It is Saturday, February 1st. It is day 2 of sweater camp. I slept in Madge with Susie last night, which means we have a toilet, but nothing else. So Bonnie and Corey are gonna let me use their hotel shower, which is very nice because my hair is very greasy. It's cold, but not like Bemidji cold. So let's have a fun Saturday. This hotel is bougie. They have really good taste. We're on a journey. We're going to back to the retreat center from Madge, and we each have approximately 20 days worth of supplies for a day. I have 2 whips. I have my spinning wheel. It's cold, so we're gonna drop things off.
I have pockets in my sweater.
She has, look at that sweater. And we need caffeine because I've been up for 2 hours and I haven't had coffee yet.
So these swatches are the single ply, the 2 ply.
Lamb coats as well. I was knitting cute little lamb coats. You know, a thing like you held 4 or 5 strands of fingering together.
It's like a cape.
There you go.
Today flew by. I don't know how, it just was a beautiful day. Really great speakers, Jillian Moreno, Sam of Lavender Loon, Susan Crawford. It was great. I made really good progress on my Ingrid slipover. So I did the front shoulder pieces and joined for the front. And then we, as you saw, walked and got ice cream. And it was maybe 30s today, so it wasn't super cold. And then tonight for dinner, we went to a wine bar and we had this really cute room to ourselves, which was nice. The food was good. The wine was great. The company was really nice. So it's a good night. So Susie and I came back and we've just been we sat at separate tables. So we were just kind of catching up on our days, talking about life. I did a little knitting and now it's 11 and I'm tired. So I'll check in with you on Sunday.
Soft and crimpy and bouncy. Our sheep are grass-fed, so we rotate pastures. We make hay on about 120 acres.
As you can tell, sweater camp was so much fun. I feel like I always have a really good time when I'm with Susie. Like, we giggle like we're 12, but then we also have that friendship where we talk about very real and meaningful and sometimes hard things. And I feel like that is the best kind of friendship that exists. I'm gonna do a little bit of a giveaway, and it's yarn from Susie. So if you watched Vlogmas, one of the days I went to Susie's dye studio and she was showing these really cool minis. This is that set. So the set sold out so quickly, but she saved one for me to give away on the podcast. And so it's Merino DK. So we have a full skein superwash merino, and that's 246 yards. And then we have 6 mini skeins. Each of them are 49 yards. And I think these pops of color with this, and I think this is Dune, will be beautiful together. It comes with a recommendation for the Betty cowl. I think you could do whatever with this. So to enter for this giveaway, tell me something that's brought some color into your life. One of the February challenge on Instagram and Blue Sky was pop of color. So like, what's bringing you color? What's bringing you joy? Because this brings me joy. So drop in the chat what's bringing you joy right now, and I will announce this and the giveaway from the Up North Fiber Retreat on my next full-length episode. All right, knitting time. So I only brought 2 whips with me to sweater camp because I wanted to make progress on both of them. However, I did bring my spinning wheel, my e-spinner, and I did no spinning at all. So the first thing and the thing I probably spent the most time working on is the Ingrid Slipover by PetiteKnit. I've never knit a garment by PetiteKnit. I've been a little reluctant just because it feels like so many people knit her patterns. But I searched for a textured, is it Gansey style, pullover, slipover. Found lots of contenders, but I kept coming back to the Ingrid slipover. There's a gal that occasionally comes to our Brew and Make With You events, and she was knitting this pattern last year. I remember seeing that in person last January and being like, I need to make that. So now I'm making it. So I am using, well, here it is first. So this is the front, the back. When I got to sweater camp, I was halfway through one of the first cable repeats. So I did all of this. I joined the shoulders and I made it, I think, to the ribbing by the end of sweater camp. I am using yarn from Get Bentz Farms, and this is yarn that I helped to make, and it is a 2-ply worsted-ish weight, and it has pops of color in it from the skein ties from all of my 2023 knitting projects. It's Corriedale and Alpaca, mostly Corriedale, but you can see some of kind of the long hairs of the alpaca. It's squishy, it's yummy. This may not be the best yarn for this pattern. As you know, it's dark, first of all, and it is kind of hard to see some of the texture. Like, let's see if I can, like the cabling here, it's not really showing up. You can see kind of this through here. There's some of the crosses, but it definitely isn't popping as much on camera. In real life with the eye, you can see it. I think the seed stitch, or sorry, this is moss. The moss stitch shows up really lovely. Once I block it, you'll see the eyelets a little bit better. The ribbing looks great, but I love this pattern. I love this yarn. It's super special to me. So this, I spent a lot of time this week on it too. And so since I've been back, I joined in the round, and it feels like the longest round ever. Like everyone is, I think it's 240 stitches. I'm knitting a size large on US 5 needles because I'm a loose knitter, and it's kind of taking forever, but that's okay because I really am enjoying the charts. I'm enjoying the texture. It changes pretty consistently. I'm using all of my favorite stitch markers, these blown glass stitch markers from Fiber and Flame. There you can see these really pretty flower ones. Some stitch markers that Twin Mountain Handcrafts custom made for me and my friends. This one says Emily. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Okay. Almost, I'd lost a stitch if you couldn't tell when I went quiet, which I never go quiet. I'm a chatterbox. Okay, and I have that whip in that crafty little fox project bag that I love. It fits it so well. The second whip that I worked on and brought with me is the Grid Gambit by Samantha Guerin. I love this project. I already knit one. I test knit it, and now I'm knitting another as part of the Grid Gambit Cowl knit along that Samantha and I are hosting together. There's still time to join. It goes until March 5th or 6th, I think, and today is February 9th. It's my half birthday, and it's a Super Bowl, which, side note, I don't care about football, but I do love Kendrick Lamar, so I'm very excited for the halftime show. Anyways, so this is the Grid Gambit, and I love my version. I am using Fiber MacGyver, Shaniko DK Marine Green. This was a leftover skein from my Rhinebeck vest. And then I'm using some very special handspun yarn that was sent to me from Maureen as part of our handspun exchange. That was kind of the first part of the Grid Gambit knit along, was that handspun exchange. But if you didn't participate in that, no worries, you can still knit the Grid Gambit with us. So here is that handspun yarn, browns, creams. I originally had paired it with a really soft pale pink. It was too low contrast for me, so I switched to this green, and the DK knits up a little bit more like a worsted, which I think is a perfect match for this handspun. And just look at that. I think this will be called my camo Grid Gambit. Obviously very much my vibe. Greens, browns, earth tones, greens. It's fine. But I love this. So I made a decent amount of progress. I think I went to sweater camp here, and I did about this much at sweater camp, but it's because I spent really a good chunk of my time gabbing. Again, she likes to talk. Or working on my Ingrid Slipover. The other really fun part of sweater camp and working on this Grid Gambit was that so many other people were working on their Grid Gambits as part of the knit along. I loved it. Renee and Bonnie were both working on Grid Gambits at my table. And then there were several other tables where friends were kind of knitting theirs together, or people had already had theirs on and came up and showed me. I loved it. It made me so happy. Community, that's the best part about a knit along, I think, right? Is like kind of seeing what everybody's making together and being able to see everybody in the room not everybody, but like my friends in the room working on their Grid Gambits really filled me with a lot of joy. A couple takeaways from sweater camp. First, I'm obsessed with Susan Crawford. I had never seen her before. I was living under a rock. I don't know. She is a British designer, and she takes vintage patterns and modifies them and makes them more size inclusive, modernizes the writing. She showed some example of some of the vintage patterns and like how very unspecific they are, and you had to be kind of a great knitter to knit these patterns, like have had lots of sweaters under your belt. So she's making these vintage patterns more accessible, and then each pattern comes with a little bit of history, a story, and I love that. I love to thrift. I love to go to antique stores. I would say most of my house is thrifted, secondhand, older things, and I love the idea of knitting vintage patterns. So there's 2 patterns that I favorited that I think I'm going to try and add to my queue. The first is the Floribunda, and I might not be saying this right, but it's this beautiful steeked cardigan with roses across the yoke. Loved it. I really want to steek something this year, so I thought that could be a very fun thing to do. And then the second pattern from Susan that I really loved was the, I'm not going to say this right, Harrap, Harrap. It's got a beautiful quilt motif across the top, color work. I love it. All of her patterns are lovely. So I'm going to link to her below. I almost got one of her books. She shared that when she was writing the most recent book, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm a cancer survivor, and so just anytime I hear somebody share their cancer story, I feel an immediate connection to them. So Susan Crawford, you got a new fan over here in Minnesota. Thank you for speaking at Sweater Camp. And then my other 2 favorite speakers, well, I loved all of them truly, but Sam from Lavender Loon spoke, and I just loved hearing her talk a little bit about her flock. She spoke at the Up North Fiber Retreat, and you saw a little bit of that panel. This one was different. She had a formal presentation, and I loved hearing her talk about the sheep she has, why she picked the sheep, kind of goals for her future flock, and it was lovely. I also really loved hearing from Tony, who's TLC Yarns, and everybody knows who Tony is. Everybody knows. Everybody also knows who Gigi is. And both of them were just beautiful. Listening to them talk honestly felt a little bit like therapy. I left in the clip where you can hear Gigi talking about like life is hard, the things are hard. I felt very great for where we are in this moment, but still find joys, and you can still, finding joys, little joys can be a big form of resilience, and then lets us show up in whatever way we want to keep energy for the good fight. So I loved Gigi. And then Tony was so body positive, which I need to hear. Like, I need to hear people talking about their bodies in really positive ways. I feel like we are in such a diet culture, and that's toxic for me. So hearing Tony talk about, she said something, I think, about her arms, and she's like, and I love the fullness of my arms. And I was like, I love you. So both of those 2 speakers, Tony and Gigi, did a lot for my heart and my head. So that was lovely and kind of unexpected. So yeah, the speakers were lovely. I really liked the formalized presentation. We had 3 speakers every day. They lasted about an hour. So that was great. So then it was the balance of knitting at a table, listening, and then in between time you could socialize and walk around. There was a happy hour every day, which was also pretty fun. And that line, us knitters, we had a line to get to the bar, which is truly not a surprise. My other favorite part of Sweater Camp was a part of the agenda on Sunday where folks were invited to participate in a Maker's Minute, where you could get up on stage and talk about something that you made in the year. There was a group of friends that showed their Sweater Camp doodle cowls. Those were so cute. Somebody was showing off a little dinosaur sweater they had made for their niece or nephew. There was kind of a friendship moment between 2 knitters, where one knitter provided support and kind of really bolstered this woman's journey to make a colorwork sweater. I got up on stage and shared my sheep to shawl, which was kind of nerve-wracking, but also fun. I am a Leo and I am type A, so I do like a little microphone moment. I have a podcast, right? So obviously I'm not super shy about talking, but it was really wonderful and a little overwhelming to kind of share something to a room full of prolific knitters and makers. So But I guess that is the audience that's really going to appreciate what you do, right? So anyway, I loved that moment. I love seeing what everybody's working on. It was just another one of the things that made everybody feel like closer together despite it being a large size. Okay, so then my purchases. I made 3 purchases. The first is this hand cream from Utopia. I'm gonna put some on right now. So I first heard of Utopia at Rhinebeck. Susie of Fiber MacGyver loves Utopia. Utopia has this recovery balm that has lanolin in it, and it is amazing on your heels. You all have heard me talk about my anxiety and how I kind of pick at my nails, my cuticles. It's great for kind of jump starting the recovery process. So I wanted to try a new product from them, and this hand cream, it's sheep's lanolin, and then it's pink grapefruit, and it's Darn It Anyways special scent. This is divine. So I had to get myself one of those, put some on, loving it. And then I also got a skein of yarn from Lavender Loon. I got the Sam's Yak DK base. I have 5 skeins of this really beautiful sagey soft green that I haven't knit with yet, and I decided I want to do a colorwork sweater. So I got 1 skein of like a black, dark gray to do a really big contrast. So I think the sage green with a pop of like charcoal gray black is gonna be really yummy. No idea what sweater I'm gonna do yet, but if you have any recommendations for a DK weight sweater that would be really good with like a drapey yummy yak silk, let me know. And then I did get 4 skeins from Utopia. Utopia is a mill, different Utopia. Utopia, Utopia, EWE, like the sheep. So Utopia is a mill in Viroqua, Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I loved that. I know a lot of folks use this mill to process their fiber, and I have never knit with their yarn before. I've seen them at all of the big shows. They always have the most gorgeous booth at Rhinebeck, but I've never purchased from them, and I don't know why. So this base is called Sustainable. And it's, I think it's like a heavy DK. It's 100% Midwest fine wools. It includes Targhee, Rambouillet, Merino, and CVM, California Variegated Mutant, which is Romedale with spots. And it's like, this blend is the softest, yummiest yarns all mixed into one. I love Rambouillet, I love CVM. And so I saw this and I was like, yes, please. So I got 4 skeins of this color called Smoke. And each skein has, let's see, 230 yards, 100 grams, like a good DK size. And it says this yarn is processed and hand dyed in small batches. The wool in this yarn supports local, organic, and restorative agriculture. The sheep are lovely and humanely treated. I loved hearing about this mill. Catherine owns the mill. And she talked a lot about her dye process, her flock, but then also the wool that she collects to make this gorgeous yarn. It really was. I was like the whole time. And then the really fun thing too was she showed some of the machinery in the mill, in their mill, and it's some of the same machinery that Teresa has. And I was like, I know how to use that. I know how to use that. So I really took a lot away from this session. So I have 4 skeins of this. I was originally thinking of doing the Rota, R-O-T-A Slipover, the tank top version. I have enough yarn for that. However, the more I think about it, the more I wonder this yarn would make a really beautiful, that rose cardigan from Susan Crawford, if I got a couple more colorways from Utopia. So we'll see. But the Rhoda would be yummy in this for sure. Okay. That's it. Sweater camp was a hit. Would also recommend. It is a little bit more on the expensive side for sure. This is the most I've paid for a retreat. It did include breakfast, lunch, snacks, happy hour every night, wonderful speakers, that beautiful swag bag that you saw. But that was definitely stretching my budget a bit, but it was worth it. I loved sweater camp. There were 230 people in the room. I loved getting up and talking to people. I think if you went on your own, you would very easily find people to sit with, though it is a little overwhelming to see all of the people in the room. So I'm really grateful that Corey from ParkKnits and that group of friends who are all incredible kind of adopted me for the weekend. I loved going to dinner with them. I loved getting to know them more. It was just lovely. It's the best. So would recommend Sweater Camp, knowing that it might be out of the price point for some people. But then again, remember that Up North Fiber retreat, which was definitely, I think it was like half the cost, was amazing as well. I'm lucky. I'm lucky to live where I do and to have so many beautiful retreats to go to. But thank you for being part of my community. I hope wherever you are well, and I'll see you next time.